Welcome to Between Sleep and Science tonight, as the world outside slows its pace and the shadows lengthen across your room. We invite you to embark on a journey that begins not in the vast reaches of the cosmos, but within the most intimate corners of your own being. We often think of electricity as a modern convenience, something trapped in wires, glowing in our screens, or humming in the walls of our homes. But before the first light bulb ever flickered to life, and long before the first battery was assembled in a laboratory, electricity was already the master architect of existence. It is the invisible thread that weaves through the living architecture of your body, a force so ancient and fundamental that it has shaped the very definition of life since its earliest, most primitive moments on this planet. To understand the true nature of this power, we must shrink our perspective. Imagine drifting down past the visible world through layers of tissue and fiber until you arrive at the threshold of a single human cell. Here, in this microscopic realm, electricity is not a guest. It is the vital language of biology. Every living cell is, in essence, a sophisticated electrical device. Encapsulated within a delicate membrane, each cell maintains a constant rhythmic balance of charged particles. This isn't a static environment. It is a dynamic, shimmering sea of activity where ions, atoms that have gained or lost electrons, dance in a precisely choreographed ballet. Think of the cellular membrane not merely as a passive container, but as a living, breathing battery. On one side, there is a concentration of certain ions, and on the other, a different arrangement. This separation of charge creates what scientists call a voltage difference, or a membrane potential. It is a tiny, flickering spark, measured in millivolts, yet it holds the power of life itself. These minute electrical gradients act as the primary signaling system for all biological functions. When you breathe, when your heart pulses, or when a single thought flits across the horizon of your mind, it is because these electrical gates have swung open. Deep within the membrane lie the gatekeepers, ion channels. These are specialized proteins that behave like microscopic, high-speed gateways. They do not open at random. Instead, they respond with astonishing precision to subtle electrical cues, clicking open or snapping shut to allow specific ions to pass through. This movement of charge is the whisper inside the cell, a silent command that dictates every step of an organism's existence. In the simplest microbes, these currents are used to sense the environment, allowing them to move toward nutrients or retreat from danger. In the complex human form, they coordinate the trillions of cells that make up your physical presence. But the influence of electricity goes even deeper than movement and sensation. Consider the very core of your identity, your DNA. We often speak of the genetic code as a set of instructions, but instructions are useless without the machinery to read them. The complex molecular engines that traverse your DNA, interpreting its sequences and building the proteins that define you, are themselves dependent on electrical gradients. Without the constant, steady flow of charge across the cell, the machinery of life would grind to a halt. The instructions for growth, for healing, and for awareness would remain locked away, silent, and unreadable. If these quiet wanderings bring you even a moment of calm, feel free to leave a few warm words, or tell us in the comments which city you're watching from, so we can see how far our explorations travel. You can also simply like and subscribe. Your support helps other weary hearts discover this cozy corner. And now, you don't need to do anything at all. Just settle in comfortably and let the slow, steady rhythm of deep time gently carry you away from your worries. Let the journey begin. Long before the first human mind conceived of a way to capture a charge or harness the hum of a current within a copper wire, our planet was already staging its own breathtaking demonstrations of raw electrical power. As you listen, imagine stepping out from the quiet of your thoughts and looking upward into the vast, darkening theatre of the atmosphere. Above us, the sky is not merely a void, but a massive, ancient laboratory, a realm where the elements collaborate to produce the most spectacular display of energy known to the natural world, the lightning strike. To understand this celestial fire, we must look into the heart of a storm cloud, a place of immense turbulence and hidden complexity. Within these towering structures of vapor, a violent and beautiful process of separation is taking place. Driven by powerful updrafts, countless millions of tiny ice crystals and soft hailstones are swept into a frantic dance. They collide and rub against one another in a relentless, chaotic sequence of friction. In this microscopic forge, electrons are stripped away and traded. The lighter ice particles, carrying a positive charge, are lofted toward the freezing summits of the clouds, while the heavier, negatively charged regions settle toward the base. This creates an invisible tension, a profound electrical imbalance that stretches between the heavens and the earth. As the storm matures, the electric field becomes so intensely concentrated that the very air itself begins to change. Under normal conditions, our atmosphere acts as a stubborn insulator, resisting the flow of electricity. But there is a breaking point. When the pressure of the accumulated charge reaches a critical threshold, the atmosphere can no longer hold it back. The air literally tears open, transforming into a conductive pathway of plasma. In an instant, the charge leaps across the sky in a blinding burst of luminosity. This is not just a streak of light. It is a profound restructuring of the environment. The flash heats the surrounding air to temperatures that dwarf the surface of the sun, an extraordinary leap in thermal energy that occurs in a fraction of a second. This sudden, violent heating causes the air to expand with such explosive force that it creates a sonic shockwave. We hear this event as thunder, the audible signature of a sky that has been momentarily reshaped by fire. But lightning is far more than a terrifying force of nature or a source of primal awe. It is a vital component of the planet's biological and chemical maintenance. These massive discharges act as a cosmic recycler, sparking chemical reactions that regenerate essential compounds in the atmosphere. They help fix nitrogen into forms that can be utilized by life and maintain the delicate planetary balance that has allowed ecosystems to flourish for eons. A single strike can branch unpredictably across the landscape, reaching out far beyond the storm that birthed it, a reminder of the far-reaching influence of the Earth's natural electrical engine. For countless generations of life, from the earliest organisms to the modern observer, lightning has stood as both a harbinger of fear and a spark of creation. It is a glimpse into the restless energy of our world, a testament to the fact that the Earth is not a silent rock, but a living, breathing system powered by invisible currents. As you settle deeper into the quiet of the night, let the image of this ancient celestial fire remind you of the profound forces that govern our world, operating with a majesty that is both ancient and ever-renewing. Breathe softly and let the echoes of the distant storm guide you further into the landscape of rest. As you drift deeper into a state of relaxation, let your awareness turn inward, away from the grand spectacles of the atmosphere and toward the quiet, rhythmic reality of your own body. We often think of our skin, bones, and muscles as solid physical structures, but beneath that familiar surface lies a vast and intricate network of energy, a living telegraph system that never truly sleeps. At this very moment, your body is generating its own electrical messages, a continuous stream of data that defines everything you feel, every movement you make, and the very essence of your consciousness. Imagine, if you will, the complex architecture of a single nerve cell or neuron. These are the specialized messengers of your internal world, and each one is a masterpiece of electrical engineering. Every sensation you experience, the soft texture of a blanket, the subtle coolness of the air, or the gentle weight of your own limbs, begins as a tiny shift in the balance of ions surrounding these cells. This shift triggers a rapid moving wave of electrical charge known as an action potential. Like a spark traveling along a fuse, this impulse races through your nerves with remarkable speed, carrying information from the furthest reaches of your fingertips toward the central hubs of your spine and brain. This journey is a triumph of biological translation. When something touches your skin, microscopic receptors convert that physical event into an electrical wave. But the most fascinating part of this relay occurs at the tiny gaps between your nerve cells, known as synapses. Here, the message must cross a threshold. The signal remains purely electrical until it reaches the end of a nerve fiber, where it is momentarily translated into a chemical signal. These chemicals drift across the microscopic space, igniting a brand new electrical pulse on the other side. This endless relay forms a living network that keeps you perpetually aware of your environment, allowing you to react to the world with instinctive precision. Even now, as you rest, your body continues to generate these signals, regulating your breathing, your heart rhythm, and countless internal processes without a single conscious effort on your part. But the true epicenter of this electrical activity resides within the brain, a place where thoughts themselves form through cascading electrical storms. Within the dense forest of your mind, billions of neurons are engaged in a constant, shimmering dialogue. Every idea you conceive, every memory you recall, and every emotion that washes over you exists because of intricate patterns of electrical activity. These patterns arise as charged ions move across neuronal membranes, allowing each cell to fire rapid pulses that influence its neighbors in a breathtaking chain reaction. When groups of neurons fire rhythmically together, they create what we know as brain waves, large-scale electrical patterns that reflect your state of consciousness. During calm reflection, your brain displays a steady, gentle rhythm. During focused attention, the waves sharpen and quicken. As you move towards sleep, these patterns shift again, entering the slow, expansive rhythms of deep rest or the rapid, vivid oscillations associated with dreaming. Perhaps most remarkable is the brain's ability to reshape its own electrical architecture. Through a process called neuroplasticity, Your synapses strengthen or weaken based on this electrical activity, allowing you to learn and grow. Your entire inner world is an exquisite expression of these silent internal storms, flashing perpetually within the quiet sanctuary of your mind. Allow this realization to settle over you like a warm shadow, knowing that even in the stillness of the night, your inner light continues to pulse with the rhythm of life. As we continue our slow wander through the wonders of the natural world, we must acknowledge a profound truth. As humans, we are largely blind to one of the most pervasive forces on our planet. While we perceive the world through sight, sound, and touch, many of our fellow creatures possess a sixth sense, the ability to feel and interpret the invisible web of electricity that blankets the earth. For them, the atmosphere and the oceans are not empty spaces. They are filled with hidden landmarks and silent conversations that guide their every move. Imagine the incredible journey of a migratory bird, a small traveler navigating across vast continents and trackless oceans. For centuries, we wondered how these creatures could maintain such a precise course over thousands of miles. While they certainly use the sun, the stars, and the magnetic field of the Earth, recent science has revealed a more subtle guide. The surface of our planet carries a natural electric gradient, a vertical field created by the constant interaction between the ground and the outer atmosphere. Birds appear to possess specialized receptors, often located near the beak, that can detect minute shifts in this electric potential. This sensitivity gives them an awareness of altitude, upcoming weather changes, and even the approach of distant storms long before they become visible. In the dim light of dawn or through the thickest fog, this electrical awareness provides a reliable, steady guide, turning a feat of endurance into a triumph of sensory sophistication. But the most dramatic masters of this force reside beneath the surface of the water. In the dark, sediment-heavy rivers of the Amazon and beyond, visibility is often near zero. Here, light is a luxury that nature cannot provide. In response, certain species of fish have evolved to generate their own electrical fields, creating a personal auras of energy that extend around their bodies. When another object or creature enters this field, it causes a distortion, a ripple in the electrical fabric that the fish can feel through sensitive receptors in its skin. This is electrolocation, a biological form of radar that allows them to track moving prey and navigate complex environments with surgical precision. Consider the legendary electric eel, perhaps the most famous inhabitant of this electrified realm. The eel does not merely sense electricity, it has mastered it as both a tool and a weapon. Its body contains specialized organs made of modified muscle cells that function like stacks of biological batteries. When the eel fires these cells in unison, it can produce an astonishingly powerful discharge, capable of stunning predators or neutralizing prey in an instant. Yet, the eel is also a subtle architect of its environment. It uses gentle, probing pulses to see its surroundings, and recent research suggests it can even manipulate the behavior of its prey by delivering rapid, flickering bursts that force their muscles to contract involuntarily, revealing their hiding places. It is a master of electrical control, bending the physical world to its will through bursts of pure charge. In these same waters, other fish engage in what can only be described as a silent electrical language. They modulate the frequency and pattern of their faint electrical output to convey identity, social status, and territorial boundaries. Some species even perform electrical duets, adjusting their frequencies to avoid interference with one another, ensuring that their messages remain clear in a crowded environment. This hidden world of conversation reveals a layer of social complexity that remains entirely silent to human ears, yet it is as rich and nuanced as any songbird's melody. As you settle into the quiet of this exploration, let your mind marvel at the diversity of life, a kingdom where electricity is not just a force to be harnessed, but a way to perceive, to communicate, and to exist in perfect harmony with the invisible currents of the world. As we journey further into the quiet mysteries of our world, we leave behind the soaring flight of birds and the electric currents of the deep rivers to stand among the silent giants of the earth, the trees. To the casual observer, a forest is a place of profound stillness, a collection of solitary organisms rooted firmly in place, competing for sunlight and rain. But if we could peel back the layers of soil and look into the hidden darkness beneath our feet, we would discover a world of staggering complexity and constant activity. Beneath the moss and the fallen leaves, the forest is alive with a subtle, rhythmic pulse. It is here, in the cold damp of the earth, the trees engage in a sophisticated electrical conversation that ensures the survival of the entire community. For centuries, we viewed trees as passive observers of time, but modern science has revealed that they are, in fact, master communicators. This communication is made possible by a vast, subterranean network of roots and fungal filaments known as the mycelium. This wood wide web functions as a physical and electrical bridge, linking individual trees into a unified whole. Within the tissues of a single tree, electrical signals, similar in many ways to the action potentials found in human nerves, travel along the vascular system. These signals are not as rapid as the sparks in our own minds, but they are just as vital. When a tree experiences stress, perhaps from a sudden drought, the nibbling of a hungry insect, or the onset of a disease, its internal electrical potential shifts. This shift is a cry for help, an electrical warning that ripples through the tree's architecture and into the ground. Once these signals enter the root system, the soil itself becomes a stage for electrical interaction. Rich with minerals, moisture, and organic matter, the earth acts as a natural conductor, carrying these subtle pulses toward neighboring trees. But the trees do not act alone. They have formed an ancient partnership with fungal networks that intertwine with their roots. These fungi act as natural amplifiers and distributors, extending the reach of a tree's signal far beyond its own root zone. Through this intricate web, an electrical warning from an oak on one side of a ridge can reach a beech on the other, alerting the entire forest to a potential threat before it even arrives. The response to these electrical warnings is nothing short of miraculous. When a neighboring tree receives a stress signal, it doesn't just wait for the danger to appear. Instead, it begins to reorganize its own biology. It may adjust how much water its leaves absorb, or it may begin to synthesize complex defensive chemicals to make its bark or foliage unpalatable to insects. This collective resilience is the hallmark of a healthy forest. The trees share information about the environment, coordinating their defenses and even sharing nutrients with younger or weaker members of the group through the same electrical and chemical pathways. In this way, the forest behaves less like a collection of individuals and more like a single, massive, and highly intelligent organism. As you settle into the stillness of the night, let your mind rest on the image of this underground world. Imagine the silent, shimmering threads of energy weaving through the dark earth, connecting the tallest canopy to the smallest seedling. This planetary reservoir of information allows the forest to respond collectively to the changing conditions of the world, revealing a truth that we are only beginning to understand. The trees are far from solitary. Their ability to share information electrically gives them a resilience and a unity that sustains entire ecosystems across the globe. Breathe gently and feel yourself connected to this same ancient pulse, a reminder that in the great tapestry of life, nothing ever truly stands alone. The silence of the forest is not empty. It is a conversation, a continuous electrical whisper that has guided the growth and survival of the wild world since the dawn of time. As you rest in the quiet safety of your surroundings, let your imagination drift upward, passing through the canopy of the forest, beyond the layer of clouds, and higher still, until you pierce the very edge of our atmosphere. Here, we enter a realm that we often imagine as a cold, silent vacuum. But in truth, the space between worlds is anything but empty. It is a restless, shimmering ocean of energy, a dynamic landscape where the invisible forces of electricity and magnetism govern the movement of every star and planet. This is the stage for one of the most magnificent electrical dramas in the universe, the constant interaction between our world and the sun. Our journey begins with the sun itself, not merely as a source of light, but as a titanic electrical generator. Deep within its core, unimaginable pressures and temperatures create a state of matter known as plasma, where electrons are stripped from their atoms, leaving a roiling sea of charged particles. This star constantly flings a portion of itself into the void, a persistent stream of electrified material known as the solar wind. This wind carries energy across the vast distances of space at millions of miles per hour, bathing the entire solar system in a river of charged particles. If the Earth were unprotected, this solar wind would strip away our atmosphere and leave our world as barren as a desert. But our planet is not defenseless. Wrapped around the Earth is an invisible, protective canopy known as the magnetosphere. This is our celestial shield, a complex magnetic structure that reaches far out into the darkness of space. When the solar wind reaches us, it does not strike the surface. Instead, it encounters this shield, compressing it and flowing around it, like water around the hull of a ship. It is at the boundaries of this interaction that the invisible becomes visible. Some of these solar particles are funneled by magnetic lines toward the Earth's poles, spiraling downward with increasing speed. When they finally reach the upper layers of our atmosphere, the ionosphere, they collide with atoms of oxygen and nitrogen. These collisions transfer energy, causing the gases to glow with shimmering spectral light. This is the aurora, the northern and southern lights. It is a visual map of our planet's electrical defenses, a breathtaking display of green, violet, and deep crimson ribbons that ripple across the horizon like curtains caught in a cosmic breeze. Each glow is the imprint of a single charged particle completing its long journey from the heart of the Sun to the edge of our world. As solar activity intensifies, these displays can grow into massive, radiant storms of light that reveal the hidden structure of the magnetosphere itself, reminding us that we live within a vast, interconnected electrical system. But the Earth is not the only world shaped by these forces. If we travel further out toward the gas giant Jupiter, we find electrical interactions on a scale that dwarfs anything seen on our planet. Some of Jupiter's moons, such as the volcanic Io, travel through regions of intense magnetic activity. As Io moves through this environment, it interacts with Jupiter's immense magnetic field, creating a titanic electrical connection known as a flux tube. This umbilical cord of energy carries millions of amperes of current between the Moon and the planet, generating radio emissions so powerful they can be detected from Earth, and creating permanent glowing auroras at Jupiter's poles. Even the Milky Way itself is threaded with these cosmic currents. Across the galaxy, charged particles drift along magnetic pathways that extend for thousands of light years, influencing the birth of new stars and the temperature of interstellar gas. The entire universe is a network of plasma and magnetism, a shimmering web of electrical behavior that spans the immense distances between galaxies. As you settle into the quiet of the night, let the image of these cosmic shields and shimmering lights remind you of our place in the universe. We are not isolated on a lonely rock. We are participants in a grand, electrified dance that weaves the stars and planets into a single, unified system of light and power. Breathe gently now, and let the cosmic currents guide you toward the deepest threshold of rest. As you continue to rest, supported by the surface beneath you, take a moment to consider a profound and startling truth about the world you inhabit. We perceive our surroundings as a collection of solid, dependable objects. The weight of a book, the firmness of a chair, the cool glass of a window. But if we were to peel back the veil of our ordinary senses and peer into the heart of matter itself, we would find that this familiar solidity is a grand illusion sustained entirely by the invisible hand of electricity. In this quiet moment, let us explore the restless electrical nature of the very atoms that compose your body and everything you see. At the most fundamental level, the stability of our entire universe arises from a delicate, perpetual balance between charged particles. Imagine the structure of a single atom. At its center lies the nucleus, a dense core of positively charged protons. Surrounding this center is a shimmering cloud of negatively charged electrons. For decades, we were taught to imagine these electrons as tiny planets orbiting a sun. But the reality is far more mysterious. Electrons do not follow predictable paths. They exist as waves of probability, spreading out in intricate patterns defined by their motion and their electrical charge. It is the relentless electrical attraction between the nucleus and these electrons that binds the atom together, preventing it from dispersing into a shapeless cloud of particles. This attraction is the primary architect of order in a universe that would otherwise be chaos. But if atoms are held together by attraction, why does the world feel solid? Why is it that when you press your hand against a table, your fingers do not simply pass through the wood? The answer lies in a phenomenon that occurs at the boundaries of matter. Every object you touch is encased in a shell of negatively charged electrons. As your hand approaches the surface of the table, the electrons in your skin come into close proximity with the electrons in the wood, because, like charges repel each other with extraordinary strength, a powerful electrical field develops between the two surfaces. This repulsion is so intense that the atoms of your hand and the atoms of the table never truly make physical contact in the way we usually imagine. What you perceive as touch or solidity is, in fact, the sensation of this electrical repulsion. You are essentially hovering a microscopic distance above every surface you sit on or lean against, supported by a cushion of pure electrical force. This invisible push is so reliable and so constant that it defines our entire experience of reality. It is the reason a mountain stands firm against the wind, and the reason a drop of water holds its shape on a leaf. Every physical object remains intact because these electrical forces hold its particles together with a strength that defies the vast, empty spaces within the atoms themselves. Furthermore, the specific arrangement of these electrons dictates the personality of every material in existence. Whether an object is brittle like crystal, flexible like silk, metallic, transparent, or magnetic depends entirely on how electrical forces constrain and organize its electrons. Even the colors we perceive, the deep blue of the ocean or the soft green of a forest, arise from these energy structures. Atoms absorb and emit specific wavelengths of light based on the transitions of electrons between different energy states. The world is a masterpiece of electrical engineering, where every texture and every hue is a direct result of the silent dance between positive and negative charges. As you settle further into the stillness of the night, let the realization of this electrical architecture bring you a sense of wonder and peace. You are not merely a collection of solid parts. You are a harmonious arrangement of energy held together by the same forces that bind the stars. The solidity of the world is not a cold, dead fact, but a vibrant, living expression of electrical balance. Breathe softly now and feel the steady, invisible support of the universe, knowing that even in the deepest silence, the very atoms of your being are held in a perfect, glowing embrace. As we move deeper into the heart of the night, let us venture beyond the world of solid objects and predictable forces. We are entering a realm where our ordinary sense of reality begins to dissolve. The strange, shimmering landscape of quantum mechanics. Here, electricity does not behave like water flowing through a pipe or a simple spark jumping a gap. Instead, it follows rules that defy intuition, revealing a world where particles can be in two places at once, where they move like waves through a vast ocean of probability, and where the impossible becomes the fundamental law of existence. To understand the true strangeness of electricity, we must look at the electron not as a tiny ball of matter, but as a restless wave. In the materials that surround us, the copper in our wires or the silicon in our chips, electrons usually struggle. They move through a chaotic obstacle course, constantly colliding with atoms and losing their energy as heat. This struggle is what we call electrical resistance. But imagine, for a moment, a world where this friction completely vanishes. When certain materials are cooled to temperatures so extreme they rival the cold of deep space, they undergo a miraculous transformation. They enter a state of superconductivity. In this supercooled state, the chaotic movement of individual electrons ceases. Instead, They pair up in a coordinated, silent dance, gliding through the material with perfect grace. They no longer collide. They flow as a single, unified wave that encounters no resistance whatsoever. A current started in a superconducting loop could, in theory, circulate for billions of years without ever losing its strength. This perfect harmony allows for the creation of incredibly powerful magnetic fields, enabling technologies that seem like science fiction. It is through superconductivity that we can achieve magnetic levitation, where magnets hover effortlessly above a surface, locked in place by a perfect electrical embrace that defies gravity itself. It is a striking demonstration that when matter reaches its quantum limits, electricity becomes a force of pure, frictionless elegance. But the quantum world holds even deeper mysteries. Consider the phenomenon of quantum tunneling, a process where an electron slips through a physical barrier that should be impassable. In our everyday world, if you throw a ball at a wall, it bounces back. But in the quantum realm, because an electron behaves like a wave, a small part of that wave can extend beyond the barrier. If the wall is thin enough, the electron can simply appear on the other side, as if it had tunneled through the fabric of reality itself. This ghostly passage is not a rare anomaly. It is a crucial process that powers the sun, allows for the precision of scanning microscopes, and even influences the biological reactions within your own cells. It reveals a universe that is not a collection of hard borders, but a dynamic medium where energy can transcend the limits of space and matter. We also find materials that possess a mysterious memory of past electric fields, a property known as ferroelectricity. Inside these substances, tiny electrical domains can be switched in direction by an external force, and they will remain in that state even after the force is removed. This atomic-scale memory allows us to store information in ways that endure for ages, highlighting the deep and surprising connections between electrical behavior and the very structure of atoms. Some solids even allow electricity to travel as waves of vibration, phonon polaritons, where the movement of charge couples so tightly with the shivering of the atomic lattice that they become a single hybrid entity. Even what we call empty space is never truly quiet in the quantum world. At the smallest scales, the vacuum seethes with restless fluctuations of electric and magnetic fields that flicker in and out of existence too quickly to be seen. This shimmering quantum landscape exerts subtle forces on everything it touches, shaping the universe in ways that are profound yet invisible. As you settle into the stillness of this moment, let the strangeness of the quantum world fill you with a sense of peace. You are part of a universe that is far more mysterious and beautiful than it appears on the surface. A world where light and matter are woven together in a restless, glowing dance that continues even in the deepest silence of the night. Breathe softly and let the wonder of these ghostly paths guide you further into the sanctuary of rest. As we continue our journey through the unseen world of electricity, let us move from the mysterious, ghostly realms of quantum mechanics into a landscape shaped by human ingenuity. We are entering the digital architecture of our modern civilization, a world where the raw, wild force of the electron has been tamed, organized, and taught to think. While the lightning bolt represents electricity in its most untamed state, the computer chip represents its most refined. Here, In the microscopic corridors of silicon, electricity becomes more than just energy. It becomes information, logic, and memory. At the heart of this transformation lies a device so small it is invisible to the naked eye, yet so powerful it has reshaped the history of our species: the transistor. To understand the transistor, imagine a simple gateway. Its only task is to make a single binary decision, to allow a stream of electrons to pass or to block it. In the world of digital logic, this corresponds to the simplest of concepts: a 1 or a 0, a yes or a no, light or darkness. On its own, a single transistor is humble. But when billions of these microscopic gatekeepers are arranged into intricate circuits, they create a collective intelligence capable of performing the most complex mathematical operations and executing the most sophisticated instructions. This is the silent backbone of the digital world. Every calculation, every line of code, and every abstract thought processed by a computer begins as a series of these tiny electrical decisions. The speed at which these transistors switch, billions of times per second, determines the pulse of our technology. They act together like the neurons in a biological brain, directing signals along branching routes to compare values, store data, and create the vast interconnected reality we navigate every day. The transistor stands as one of humanity's most transformative inventions, a bridge that translates the physical motion of electrons into the abstract realm of human creativity and logic. But how does electricity hold on to our thoughts? How does it remember? Digital memory is a testament to our ability to trap the restless nature of charge. In certain memory systems, tiny devices called capacitors act like microscopic reservoirs, holding a small amount of electrical energy to represent a piece of data. Other technologies use insulating layers to capture and hold electrons in place, allowing information to persist even when the power is turned away. Reading this memory involves sensing the subtle presence or absence of that charge, while writing it requires rearranging the distribution of electrons with surgical precision. As our technology advances, these components shrink to astonishingly small scales, allowing us to pack the entire history of human knowledge into a device that fits in the palm of your hand. This reliance on electric charge reveals that even our most abstract digital concepts rest on a physical foundation. Every photograph, every message, and every program exists because we have learned to arrange electrons into stable, retrievable patterns. Consider, too, the images that fill our screens. Before a digital picture ever reaches your eyes, it begins as a river of electrical signals. In a camera, light is captured by sensors that respond to incoming photons by liberating electrons, converting the beauty of the physical world into a map of electrical charge. When that image is displayed, the process reverses. The electrical instructions for each pixel, the tiny addresses of light that make up an image, are sent to the screen, where they direct elements to glow with the correct color and brightness. Whether it is the shimmering plasma in an older display or the precise liquid crystals of the new, the result is the same. A world of light created by the coordinated movement of millions of electrical pulses. As you settle into the quiet of the night, let the realization of this digital architecture bring you a sense of calm. You are surrounded by a world that is constantly whispering in the language of electrons, a silent, glowing network that processes, remembers, and visualizes the human experience. The digital world is not a cold machine. It is a vibrant expression of our mastery over the fundamental forces of nature. Breathe gently, and let the rhythmic hum of this unseen logic guide you toward the threshold of rest, knowing that even in the stillness, the architecture of light and thought continues to pulse around you. As we continue our slow wander through the wonders of electricity, let us turn our attention from the microscopic decisions of the computer chip toward the grand physical movements of our world. We are entering the realm of mechanical mastery, a space where the invisible, silent force of electricity is transformed into the tangible power of motion. It is here that electricity becomes a physical hand, pushing, pulling, and rotating the heavy machinery of our civilization. This transformation is not just a feat of engineering. It is a profound expression of the fundamental relationship between electricity and magnetism, a partnership that has reshaped the landscape of human existence. At the heart of this mechanical revolution lies the electric motor. Imagine the interior of such a device, a series of copper coils wound with surgical precision, surrounded by powerful magnets. When electricity flows through these coils, it creates its own magnetic field, a force that reacts instantly to the magnets around it. Like the repelling poles of two handheld magnets, these fields push against one another, forcing a central rotor to spin with incredible speed and steadiness. There is a deep, rhythmic beauty in this process. Unlike the violent explosions within an internal combustion engine, the electric motor operates with a near-silent grace, turning invisible energy into the kinetic force that powers everything from the humble fan cooling your room to the massive industrial pumps that sustain our cities. It is a triumph of coordinated control, where the simple movement of electrons through a wire becomes the driving force behind the physical world. But the mastery of electrical forces extends far beyond simple rotation. We have also learned to use these invisible fields to manipulate heat in ways that seem to defy our ancient understanding of fire. Consider the process of induction cooking. On a traditional stove, heat is transferred through flames or glowing coils. But an induction surface remains cool to the touch. Beneath the ceramic glass, alternating magnetic fields ripple outward. When you place a compatible metal pan on the surface, these fields induce eddy currents directly inside the metal of the pot itself. The internal resistance of the metal converts this electrical energy into heat, warming your food from the inside out while the stove remains safe and cold. It is a striking example of how electromagnetic principles can reshape our most basic tools, turning a kitchen into a laboratory of invisible physics. Perhaps the most breathtaking expression of this power is found in the way we move across the planet. In the world of high-speed transportation, we have created vehicles that break the bonds of friction entirely. Magnetic levitation, or maglev trains, use controlled electromagnetic forces to lift entire carriages off the track, allowing them to glide on a cushion of air. By precisely timing the electrical pulses through the guideway, we can propel these massive structures forward at incredible speeds with near-silent operation. There is no grinding of wheels, no roar of engines, only the smooth, effortless flow of a machine guided by light and magnetism. In our streets, the rise of the electric vehicle marks a return to this silent propulsion. These machines convert the stored charge within their batteries into consistent, powerful torque through electric motors. The driving experience is transformed into something fluid and responsive, where motion feels like a natural extension of energy rather than a byproduct of combustion. Engineers work tirelessly to refine the chemistry of these batteries and the efficiency of these motors, hoping to create a world where our journeys are as quiet and clean as the air we breathe. As you settle into the stillness of the night, let the image of these gliding trains and spinning motors bring you a sense of peaceful progress. We live in a world where the invisible has become our most powerful tool, a world where the silent movement of charge sustains the very rhythm of our physical lives. Breathe gently now and feel the steady, reliable presence of these forces, knowing that even in the deepest quiet, the mechanical hand of electricity continues to move the world forward with an elegance that is both modern and timeless. As the night grows deeper and the world around you falls into a profound stillness, let us expand our vision to the grandest scale imaginable. We are no longer looking at individual cells or even at the spinning motors within our machines. Instead, we are looking at the entire planet as a single, breathing electrical entity. Beneath your feet and high above your head, a vast and invisible network of energy is constantly at work, weaving the ground and the sky into a unified system of power. This is the global electric circuit, a planetary loom that has operated since the atmosphere first formed, and which we have now mirrored with our own sprawling networks of copper and steel. To understand this planetary scale, we must first look at the very ground beneath us. The Earth is not merely a solid ball of rock and soil, it is a massive electrical reservoir. It holds a vast store of negative charge, acting as a stable reference point for all the electrical activity that occurs above it. This charge distribution is maintained by a constant interaction with solar radiation and cosmic particles that strip electrons from air molecules, eventually returning them to the soil. The rocks, the moisture in the clay, and the mineral-rich veins of the deep earth all influence how this energy flows. Some creatures, like burrowing insects and subterranean mammals, may even sense these subtle electrical cues in the soil, using them as a silent map for navigation in the absolute darkness of their underground world. But this reservoir is only one half of a magnificent loop. High above the clouds, where the air grows thin and the sun's rays are most intense, lies the ionosphere, a region of ionized gas that acts as a natural conductor. Between this charged upper layer and the ground below, a continuous current is always flowing. We live within the gap of a giant planetary capacitor. Even in regions where the weather is perfectly calm and the sun shines brightly, a gentle downward flow of charge persists, bridging the heavens and the earth. This fair weather current is replenished by the most dramatic generators in nature, thunderstorms. At any given moment, there are roughly 2,000 thunderstorms active across the globe. These storms act like titanic batteries, pumping positive charge upward into the ionosphere and maintaining the electrical tension that allows the global circuit to function. Every lightning strike is a brief, energetic reconnection in this planet-wide loop, a reminder of the restless balance that sustains our atmospheric environment. Mirroring this natural system is one of humanity's most ambitious achievements, the global power grid. This is perhaps the largest interconnected machine ever built, a vast, living organism of wires, substations, and power plants that spans entire continents. Unlike most things we build, the grid must operate in perfect real-time balance. Every time you flip a switch or charge a device, a generator hundreds of miles away must respond instantly to that tiny shift in demand. This coordination is a triumph of engineering, requiring sensors and automated controls to monitor the breadth of the grid, the delicate ebb and flow of supply and demand that must never falter. Transmission lines act as the great arteries of our civilization, carrying energy from the kinetic force of falling water or the heat of the earth across thousands of miles to reach the quiet corners of our homes. In the highest reaches of our atmosphere, this electrical activity produces phenomena that seem to belong to the realm of myth. Above the most intense thunderstorms, mysterious and elusive flashes known as sprites occasionally unfold. These are not like the lightning we see from the ground. They are vast, branching structures of red light that dance in the thin air of the mesosphere, triggered by the massive discharges far below. Closer to the surface, sailors and pilots have long witnessed the soft blue glow of St. Elmo's fire, a gentle release of electrical energy from sharp masts and aircraft wings when the atmosphere is thick with charge. These luminous displays are the visual signatures of a planet that is constantly exchanging energy, reminding us that the air around us is an ocean of charge, restless and alive. As you settle into the deepest part of your rest, let the image of this planetary loom bring you a sense of profound connection. You are not standing on a silent, inert rock. You are resting upon a vibrant electrical reservoir, protected by a celestial shield and surrounded by a global network of power that links every living being. The hum of the grid and the pulse of the atmosphere are the heartbeat of our world, a steady, rhythmic reminder of the forces that sustain us. Breathe gently now, and let the vast, glowing currents of the planet guide you into the silent sanctuary of the night. As we reach the final threshold of our quiet journey, let us turn our gaze from the familiar landscapes of Earth toward the boundless frontier that awaits us. We have traced the flow of electricity from the microscopic gates of a single cell to the titanic loops of the sun. Now we look toward the horizon, to the future of our technology and to the vast electrified reaches of the deep cosmos. Even as we stand on the edge of new discoveries, we find that electricity remains our most faithful guide, the invisible hand that will lead us into the next chapter of the human story. Our future in the stars depends on our ability to master electricity in the vacuum of space. Already, we have moved beyond the violent roar of chemical rockets to the elegant efficiency of electric propulsion. Imagine a spacecraft powered by an ion thruster, a device that does not rely on combustion, but on the precise acceleration of charged particles. By using electric fields to fling ions out of a nozzle at incredible speeds, these engines produce a thrust that is gentle, persistent, and remarkably efficient. While a chemical rocket burns its fuel in a matter of minutes, an ion engine can whisper its way across the solar system for years, gradually building velocity until it reaches speeds that were once unimaginable. Further still lies the promise of plasma engines, which heat gas into a roiling, electrified state to create even more powerful streams of propulsion. These technologies are turning the silent vacuum into a highway, allowing us to explore the furthest moons of Jupiter and the rings of Saturn with the precision of master navigators. But traveling through space requires more than just propulsion. It requires a deep understanding of how electricity behaves when there is no atmosphere to shield us. A spacecraft in orbit is constantly bathed in a stream of charged particles from the Sun. Without the grounding presence of the Earth, these charges can accumulate on the surface of a vessel, creating imbalances that engineers must manage with sophisticated coatings and protective shields. Even astronauts within their cabins experience a different kind of static electricity, where the lack of natural grounding and the movement of specialized fabrics can produce sparks that behave in ways unseen on the ground. In this sparse environment, electric fields extend over great distances, shaping the path of every probe and satellite we send into the dark. And yet, even in the deepest reaches of the galaxy, we are not alone. We are constantly visited by electrified messengers, known as cosmic rays, energetic particles that have been accelerated to near the speed of light by collapsing stars and turbulent shock fronts in distant corners of the Milky Way. When these messengers finally reach Earth, they collide with our atmosphere, creating a cascade of secondary particles that tell the story of their long, winding journey through magnetic landscapes. They are proof that the universe is not a static void, but a dynamic, interconnected network of energy that links our world to the furthest stars. As we look toward the future of energy on our own planet, we see a shift toward even greater precision. We are learning to manipulate charge at the smallest possible scales, creating advanced materials that can harvest power from the subtle vibrations of our own bodies or the ambient heat of the environment. Our global infrastructure is evolving into a more resilient, distributed network, a grid that thinks and responds with the speed of thought. But perhaps the most profound realization of all is that this entire electrical journey brings us back to our own origins. We now believe that the very first molecules of life may have been forged in the crucible of an electric spark. In the early, chaotic atmosphere of our planet, lightning strikes and volcanic discharges delivered the energy necessary to rearrange simple gases into the complex organic compounds that eventually became the building blocks of cells. Electricity was the midwife of life, providing the initial spark of creation that has pulsed through every living being for billions of years. If you feel your eyelids growing heavy, allow the grand story of life on Earth to wrap around you gently and guide you into calm. Don't forget to subscribe to listen to more of our bedtime stories. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and slowly drift into sleep, into silence, into the boundless, timeless current where all life intertwines. Wishing you a quiet, comforting night.